On the line right now is our good friend Joe DiGenova. Now, Joe, you have been representing, along with your partner in life and love, Victoria Tunsing, you've been representing some of these Benghazi whistleblowers. Big story last night in that 60 Minutes, which had done sort of a pretty impressive piece, what initially appeared to be a pretty impressive piece of journalism, where we heard from somebody who was allegedly there in the compound that night. Well, it turns out now that the story suggests that he was not there. FBI reports suggest that he was not there. At least that's what he told the FBI. And last night there was this Alara Logan has been apologizing for it everywhere, actually.
Nobody likes to admit that they made a mistake, but if you do, you have to stand up and take responsibility, and you have to say that you were wrong. And in this case, we were wrong. We made a mistake.
And they last night officially apologized at the end of 60 Minutes. And I think a lot of people who say, oh, you know, this is not a story, this Benghazi thing, it's old history, it's not ancient news, there's no there, are going to point to this and say, see, you know, just making stuff up.
Well, that's, of course, the problem when something like this goes awry. Actually, this British Marine, the Blue Mountain Guard, who goes by Morgan Jones, he adds absolutely nothing to add or subtract from the story that's already been established. The only thing he claims is that he was there and had contact with people and saw the ambassador's body. The fact is, we have not seen his FBI 302. Congress needs to see it. That's what Congress is demanding. That's what Senator Lindsey Graham is demanding. But remember, it is nothing that he says challenges what actually happened on the ground, which was the poor security, which was allowed by Secretary Clinton and the administration, and that no rescue help was sent. We still don't know where the president was that night, and we still don't know who, if anyone, was relieved of command that night. But one thing is clear. The administration wants to fight back whenever it can when somebody makes a mistake like 60 Minutes. And I give 60 Minutes a lot of credit for digging in and trying to keep the story alive in the mainstream media. We still don't know, in all honesty, whether or not what this guy said is true or not. We have to see the FBI 302 report of his, which no one has seen. The administration has been allowed to see it, but no one in Congress. And that's why we still have to get information so that we can answer, where did the video talking points come from?
Right.
Greg Hicks never told anyone it was a demonstration. He said it was an attack. Rice went on, never contacted Greg Hicks before she went on television on 5 TV shows to be brief. She told a lie, 5 lies in succession. We now know that lying is a policy of this administration in order to achieve goals. Just look at health care. So the answer is 60 Minutes is a gnat. It means nothing to the substance of the story.
Let me just add one thing. It's difficult when you're conducting an investigation to get at the truth when there is no way to confirm the information with the administration, because the administration simply will not talk about this.
Or they either won't talk or they will lie about it, just like Susan Rice did, just like Clinton did, just like the president did when he kept saying the video, the demonstration. Remember, the president said that for months after everyone knew that it was an attack, and that had been officially confirmed by reports on the ground. So the significance of this British Marine, maybe yes, maybe he did tell the truth, maybe he didn't, is actually irrelevant to the main story.
Joe DiGenova, though, you know the problem with this and how the left is going to use this, and the president's apologists, and frankly Hillary Clinton's apologists are going to use this, is, I hate to use the term, but low-information voters are going to see this, and they're going to say, oh, 60 Minutes had to retract a story about Benghazi. That must mean the whole thing is a mess. Listen, we know now Dylan Davies wasn't there on the ground, it seems. Guess who was there? A whole bunch of CIA security officers who know exactly what happened. They're telling their stories this week before the House Intelligence Subcommittee, but they're doing it behind closed doors. Is there a way for the real story to get out in light of all of this muddled narrative?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I think most of a very, very large, significant part of the story is out. Remember, it was an attack. There was no video. There was no rescue. We know that. As far as the hearings this week before Mike Rogers' House Intelligence Committee, the members are allowed to come out and give the substance of the testimony to the public without revealing the identities of the people who have testified. This is not rocket science, and they should be able to do this. The House Intelligence Committee has been particularly secretive, as you might imagine and expect, but they can do more and they can do better. But again, the 60 Minutes thing is a gnat. And you're right. It will try to be played as something bigger than it is, and that's why Senator Graham, Lindsey Graham, wants access to the survivors, the people on the ground in Benghazi, so that they can say, hey, folks, did you say anything about a video or a demonstration, or was it an attack? That's why the administration has kept those on-the-ground witnesses from Congress, and it's an outrage. And that's what 60 Minutes was trying to get at. They were trying to show that people on the ground had something to say. Whether or not this guy, Dylan, whatever his name is, or Morgan Jones, is told the complete truth, I don't know. I want to see his 302 before I make up my mind about that, and I want to hear from him again.
Joe DiGenova is our guest, and you're so intimately involved in the Benghazi story, and we have talked about it for so much. It almost seems like you're our Benghazi expert, but no, you are our legal analyst, and I want to take the last moments here to talk about EDNA, the Employee Non-Discrimination Act that had made its way out of the Senate. Now it faces a uphill fight in the House. What is the problem with the Employment Non-Discrimination Act as you see it, if there is one?
Well, first of all, Congress can pretty much legislate in this area any way it wants to. In other words, to prevent discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender diversity, bisexuality.
But for the first time, this includes the language of perceived gender,
yes,
and that's what a lot of people are pointing at.
Well, I think, the bottom line is that's what the legislative process is for. And this is what happens when you start to separate people into categories and classes, and then you try to define and redefine what they are and break them down into subcategories. This is what Congress has done for years. All it does is create litigation. It solves no problems. It's not going to go anywhere in the House. So the notion that somehow this is a piece of legislation that people are going to have to deal with, this will be something that will not be even taken up in the House. And will not be dealt with. It isn't going to happen. So as a matter of public policy, it's a nothing at this point. It's just another thing for the Democrats to use in their campaigns so that they can say they've done something for another constituency. I don't know whether or not they've lied like they have in everything else, like health care, but in this case they can say that's why they've done this. This is to just check a box for Democrats.
All right, Joe DiGenova, always a pleasure.
Okay, guys.